The station with the best music. Best station in music news, sports, and entertainment. We are high power 102.7 FM, the pride of the
I used to buy it. Oh, shoot me that road.
The best station in music news, sports, and entertainment. We are high power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
A beautiful morning to you, and you're welcome to another edition of In the Papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM, the program where we present and discuss major headlines from newspapers within and outside Nigeria. I am INIOLUWA and with me is
ABDULRASAQ.
This morning, I will be reviewing headlines from the Hope newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and the Nation newspaper, while my colleague will take us through headlines from...
We have story coming from the Daily Post newspaper, we have story coming from the Nation newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper, and the Hope newspaper as well.
We will take a short break. When we return, we will go straight into our first set of headlines. Glad to have you back. You're still on to In the Papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM. We proceed to the headlines for today, beginning from the Old newspaper. Ayedatiwa constitutes Tascam Board, appoints CETA chairman.
Let me start with the Hope newspaper as well. I have story coming from the Hope newspaper. We have Tinubu NIN SIM linkage reduces fraud, boosts Nigerians' national security.
Still on the Hope newspaper, now talking school resumptions. Parents lament soaring cost of books, tuition fees.
Away from the Nation newspaper, moving straight away to the Daily Post newspaper, where I have how Inspector General of Police Office locked me 3 days for publishing court injunction, says journalist.
Still on the Old newspaper, MBTE vows to crack down on fake polytechnics.
Away from that to the Daily Trust newspaper, where I have Tinubu is well known as tax collector, says Adebayo.
Still on the Old newspaper, now talking missing man. Sunview reacts as police promise discreet investigation.
Going straight to the Daily Post newspaper, we have Abia to support federal government crusade against small arm light weapons.
Now I take a flight to the Punch newspaper. DSS sues Showore X Meta over anti-Tinubu push.
Let me join you shortly on the Punch newspaper. We have federal government unveil agri reform, move to create 21 million jobs.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu returns to Abuja after cutting short Paris leave.
Still on the Punch newspaper, 4 hospitalized as fire got 2 Lagos buildings.
Still on the Punch newspaper, federal government predict fresh flood in Lagos, 13 others.
I'm still reading from the Punch newspaper as well, where federal government demand respect for Nigerian flag and anthem.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Kebbi governor accuses Malami of economic sabotage, terrorism agenda.
Still reading from the Punch newspaper, we have Army arrest notorious IPOC commander in Imo State.
Moving to the Nation newspaper, NASU issues strike notice over unmet demands.
Still on the Daily Post newspaper now, we have defection biggest problem in Nigeria, says Aisha Yesufu.
Still on the Nation newspaper, NASC appoints Emmanuel Odo as acting clerk to Senate.
I'm still reading from the Daily Post newspaper. We have our drivers earn more than graduates 4 times minimum wage, says Dangote.
Still on the old newspaper, 2027 PDP open ticket confirms Olawepo Ashim's position on zoning.
And with that, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of further story and more.
Glad to have you back. You're still on to iPower in the papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM. Beginning from the old newspaper, Ayedatiwa constitutes TESCOM board, appoints CETA chairman, and now the details. The governor of Ondo State, Honorable Lucky Ayedatiwa, has approved the appointment of members into the board of the Ondo State Teaching Service Commission, TESCOM. In the same vein, the governor approved the appointment of a senior special assistant on information technology, Honorable Tomide Akinribido, as the executive chairman of the State International Technology Agency, contained in recent statements signed and issued by the chief press secretary to the governor, Prince Ebenezer Adeniyo. The governor appointed Mrs. Oluwadaisi Oke as the chairman of TESCOM. Others include Honorable Ajani Oladipupo as member, Ms. Titilayo Fayoriju as member, and Ms. Ojuolakwe Flora Adeyemi as member, and Halaji Isiaka O. Usman also as members. Others are the chairman of the ASUT, chairman of PTA, representative of the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, members representatives of the Ministry of Education, and representative of the Ministry of Finance. The governor urged the new appointees to leverage their wealth of knowledge in executing their respective duties in line with RE's agenda of his administration. For more details on that story, check the old newspaper with the headline, Ayedatiwa constitute TESCOM board, appoint CETA chairman.
And away from that, reading from the Punch newspaper, where our federal government unveiled agri-reform, moves to create 21 million jobs. Now to the detail of the story. The federal government on Tuesday rolled out a slew of new incentives to attract agri-investment, which is said could create over 21 million jobs in the country. It is pledged reform to expand irrigation, improve access to credit, and create millions of rural jobs under President Bola Tinubu's economic agenda. Vice President Kashim Shettima outlined the plan at the Food and Agricultural Organization National and Sub-Regional and in an investment forum in Abuja, calling hunger the greatest equalizer that reveals our vulnerabilities and shared fragility of our assistance. Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media and Communications, Sterling Nwakocha, revealed these on Tuesday meeting in a statement titled More Incentives Farmers, as federal government unveiled new agri-investment incentives. The measure includes single-window platform for land registration, strengthening agricultural credit system, large-scale mechanization, and strategic irrigation projects. For more information on this story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline, Federal Government Unveil Agri-Reform, Moves to Create 21 Million Jobs.
Still on the newspaper with this headline, School Resumptions, Parents Lament Soaring Cost of Books and Tuition Fees. And now the details. As school has resumed for the 2025-26 academic session, excitement and anxiety has filled the air across Ondo State. For many parents, the joy of seeing their children return to class is mixed with the stress of meeting rising school expenses, from buying new textbooks and uniforms to paying tuition and other levies. Parents are counting the cost of education this year more than ever before. They are also watching closely to see how schools comply with the Ondo state government education policies, which were designed to make learning more affordable and accessible. Parents who spoke with newsmen across the 3 senatorial districts have children enrolled in both public and private schools across the state. Many were reported to be grappling with financial burden of preparing their children for school. Odun Ofere, a parent, explained that his children's school, the management sells the recommended books to pupils and prices change yearly. He added that there is no way parents can avoid buying the books since they are used in class. He blamed the fluctuating prices on textbooks on the state of the national economy. For more details on that story, see the old newspaper with the headline, Parents Lament Soaring Cost of Books, Tuition Fees.
Still reading from the Punch newspaper, we have 4 hospitalized as fire guards to Lagos building. Now to the detail of the story. 4 yet to be identified persons are currently battling for their lives after fire gutted a 6-story building at Afriland Tower, which houses a branch of the United Bank of Africa for Africa and other companies on Broad Street in Lagos Island area of Lagos State. This is just as another plaza located at the same area was gutted by fire, which led to a part of the building caving in. Punch Metro learned that the first incident occurs by panic among occupants and passerby in the busy commercial hub. According to multiple videos shared on social media and monitored by Punch Metro, individuals were seen attempting to jump from the story building, while others were rescued with the aid of ladders by residents and passerby. For more information on the story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline, 4 hospitalized as fire brought 2 Lagos buildings.
Still on the old newspaper, NBTE vows to crack down on fake polytechnics, and now the details. The National Board of Technical Education has recently maintained that it will not sustain its crackdown on mushroom entities, calling themselves polytechnics, and thereby impinging on the government's strong commitment to delivering qualitative education across the country. The NBTE has equally maintained that despite its fair share of challenges, polytechnic education in the country remains on the right path, helping to upscale the acquisition of the required skills to build a viable and technologically developed nation. The Director of Polytechnic and Allied Programs, NBTE, Dr. Fatima Kabir Umar, disclosed this while speaking to correspondents during NBTE's accreditation visit to Avade College of Sciences, Business and Management Studies, Obada, Abeokuta. Umar said, and I quote, "We have been fighting against mushroom entities calling themselves what they are not. We will not stop such an establishment in the interest of safeguarding what is best for the nation." The director lauded the management of the school for doing their bit to complement of the federal government efforts to provide qualitative tertiary education for Nigerians, urging the institution to continue to invest in excellence and uphold the highest standard as outlined by the MBTE. For more details on that story, see the Oak newspaper with the headline, NBTE vows to crack down on fake polytechnics.
And let me quickly join you on the Oak newspaper where I have the story, Tinubu, NIN SIM linkage reduces fraud, boost Nigerians' national security. Now to the detail of the story. President Bola Tinubu said the linkage of the national identification number with SIM card has drastically reduced fraud and improved national security. Tinubu, who was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, spoke at the 2025 National Day of Identity organized by the National Identity Management Commission in Abuja. He said, and I quote, "Working with the NCC, NIMC has enforced the NIS SIM linkage, which has significantly reduced fraud and enhanced national security." The president noted that identity is now more than a record, describing it as a foundation of citizenship, the gateway to opportunity, and the anchor for national security. I added that the national identification number, supported by public key infrastructure (PKI), has become central to Nigerian digital transformation, making transactions more secure and building citizens' trust in government and private institutes. He said, and I quote, "Without PKI, digital interaction remain vulnerable. Without PKI, citizens cannot fully trust that their data and transactions are secure. But with PKI, Nigerians can build an ecosystem where trust is guaranteed, fraud is reduced, and services are streamlined, and every citizen can engage with government and private institutions with confidence." For more information on this story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline, "Tinubu, NIN SIM linkage reduces fraud, boosts Nigerians' national security."
Still on the Hope newspaper, now talking missing man. Sunview reacts as police promise discreet investigation, and now the details. Following reports on the disappearance of a guest under suspicious circumstances at its facility, the management of Sunview Hotel, Alagbaka, Akure, Ondo State Capital, has reacted and described the report as mere rumors. In a statement made available to journalists, the hotel management clarified that no guest was kidnapped or went missing from its premises, contrary to reports circulating on social media. The incident, however, continued to generate tension across the state, with increasing public pressure on both the hotel and NGOs involved in the program to provide clearer answers. Recall that it was recently reported that a personal belonging of a missing man, Olatunde Olaluye, were discovered inside a hotel room where he lodged for a seminar. Olaluye, a vice president of Ipele Community High School, Owo, had traveled from Owo on Sunday, August 24, 2025, to attend a child labor program organized by Trace Project, Akure. The training was hosted on the hotel premises in Alagbaka, where the missing man lodged alongside 57 other participants. According to reports, Olaluye maintained a regular communication with his family between Monday and Wednesday. However, by Friday, August 29th, his phone was switched off and he had not been heard from since. In a statement, Sunview Hotel Management emphasized its commitment to guest safety and security, stating that the comprehensive review of security records, surveillance footage, and incident reports confirmed that no kidnapping or criminal activity occurred on the premises. The management explained that the misunderstanding arose from a different participant named Daniel, who was initially reported missing but had in fact left for an official assignment after instructing that his belongings be removed to avoid extra charges. For more details on that story, check the Hope newspaper with the headlines, "Missing Man, Sunview reacts as police promise discreet investigation."
And if you are just joining, you are listening to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM, Emurele, Owo, Ondo State. You can connect with us by calling our number by sharing your perspective about the stories read so far on 081 65524699, 081 65524699. Moving on with another story coming from the Daily Post newspaper, where I have how Inspector General of Police Office locked me 3 days for publishing court injunction, says journalist. Journalist Asuka Ujuagba has disclosed how two policemen orchestrated our detention for 3 days over the publication of a court injunction on our Instagram page. While recounting an ordeal to Newsman, Ashoka said that a lot of journalists has been detained unlawfully for doing nothing. She said, and I quote, "I got a letter from the Inspector General of Police (IGP) office inviting me. I went there on August 6th. The people in charge of the case were Moses Jolugbo and Ifeoma Ogoli. I have high regard for the police and I respect Constitution. That was why I went. I was at Adewale. It was at Adewale or Ladapo that petitioned against me for cyberbullying and defamation of character. They showed me my Instagram page where I published a court injunction. I told them that what I published was not cyberbullying but a court injunction. I told them that I didn't write it, but the court approved it, and I am not the only media that published it. That close to 20 media houses published the story. I asked, why am I the only one being petitioned? They asked me to get a surety, and I left. 2 days later, I was in the office for an exclusive interview when two police officers who interrogated me the other day showed up. She's code folder. They chased me like a terrorist, harassed me, and dragged my phone. Even the person that I interviewed thought they were kidnappers. They took me to their office for almost 45 minutes. They didn't say anything. They later confronted me that I didn't bring down the court injunction that I published. I was traumatized. I couldn't sleep. I am sure the IGP is not aware that a thing is happening in his office. Misused authority was used on me. They are giving the Nigerian police a bad name. I know my detention was orchestrated by Moses Jolugbo and Ifeoma Ogole. The policeman pointed gun at me and I had no clue but to obey. For more information on the story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, "How Inspector General of Police Office locked me 3 days for publishing court injunction," says journalist.
And now I take a flight to the Punch newspaper with this headline: DSS sues Sowore ex-Meta over anti-Tinubu post. And now the detail. The Department of State Services has filed a 5-count charge against former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore alongside social media platform X-Corp and Meta Incorporations over posts critical of President Bola Tinubu. The suit, dated 16th September 2025, was lodged at the Federal High Court in Abuja after Sowore allegedly refused to delete certain posts about the president. The charges were brought on behalf of the DSS and federal government by MB Abubakar, Director of Public Prosecutions at the Federal Ministry of Justice, alongside 4 other counsel to the DSS, M.E. Ernest, U.B. Bula, Dr. C.S. Eze, and E.G. Orubo. Confirming the development in a Facebook post recently, Sowore wrote, and I quote, "The State Security Service, alias official DSS-NG, today filed a 5-count charge at the Federal High Court in Abuja against X. They claim that because I called Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu a criminal, I have somehow committed a set of novel offenses they invented and spread across 5 counts. It's hard to believe there's anyone sensible left in these offices that should be making Nigeria work. Regardless, I will be present whenever this case is assigned for trial. #revolution now." For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline, "DSS issues Sowore ex-Meta over anti-Tinubu post."
Reading from the Punch newspaper, where I have, federal government demands respect for Nigerian flag and anthem. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you this detail of this story and more of to come. Welcome back, welcome back. We are still listening to In the Papers, a newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM. You can connect with us by sharing your perspective, your opinion, and your view about the headline story we read so far on 081 6552 4699. 081 6552 4699. Moving on with the story coming from the Punch newspaper. I read, federal government demand respect for Nigerian flag and anthem. Now to the story. The National Orientation Agency has charged Nigerians to show greater respect and commitment to the country's national symbol as the nation marked the 2025 National Ordinance Day. The agency has in recent years intensified campaign to instill respect for the national flag, anthem, pledge, coat of arms, and other emblems of the sovereignty, stressing that this symbol remains central to Nigerians' unity and identity. In August, the agency unveiled a two-week nationwide enlightenment campaign beginning on August 20th on 5 thematic areas, including the Nigerian Identity Project and the National Symbol Campaign. In a statement on Tuesday, the National Director General of the NOA, Lanre Isha Onilu, said the National Ordinance Day, celebrated annually on September 16th, commemorates the handover of Nigerian national symbol at independence and serve as a reminder of value of unity, discipline, and service that bind the nation together. For more information, check the Punch newspaper with the headline, Federal Government Demand Respect for Nigerian Flag and Anthem.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu returns to Abuja after cutting short Paris leave. And now the details. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after cutting short what was initially scheduled as the 10-day leave to Paris and London. The Airbus A330 conveying the president touched down at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at 6:50 p.m. local time. Tinubu, who departed Nigeria on September 4th, had been expected to remain in Europe until later this week. No official reason was given for the decision to curtail the trip. The president's return comes as the 6-month emergency rule in the oil-rich River State elapses this Thursday. Tinubu, 73, has made 15 foreign trips since January 2025, often combining official meetings with the periods of rest. His last known holiday trip was in April, when he spent about 14 working days in Paris and London. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline, Tinubu returns to Abuja after cutting short Paris leave.
Away from that to the Daily Post newspaper, where I have this headline coming through your ear. We have defection biggest problem in Nigerian, says Aishat Yesufu. Now to the detail of this story. Right activist Aisha Yesufu has pointed out to one of the biggest problems in Nigerian politics. Yesufu said the seamless defection of politicians from one party to another is a major issue in Nigerian politics. Posting on X handle, she emphasized the need for laws that will ensure politicians can change parties but must leave behind any positions or benefits won with the previous party. According to Yesufu, without such law, the trend of politicians moving to a ruling party at both state and federal levels will persist. She wrote, and I quote, "One of the biggest problems we have in Nigerian politics is this defection from one party to another seamlessly. We must have codified laws that expressly state that your right of association is granted and you can defect from one party to another, but whatever you want has to be left behind." For more information on this story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Defection Biggest Problem in Nigeria, says Aisha Yesufu.
Still on the Punch newspaper with this headline: Federal government predicts fresh flooding in Lagos, 13 others. And now the detail. The federal government has issued a fresh warning of possible flooding in Lagos, Adamawa, and 12 other states. In the flood prediction released recently by the National Flood Early Warning Center of the Federal Ministry of Environment, heavy rainfall is expected between September 16th and 18th in 14 states and 52 communities. The flood prediction was signed by the Director of Erosion, Flood and Coastal Zone Management Department, Usman Abdullahi Bukani. According to the ministry, the state and communities to possibly experience flooding within the predicted days are Akwa Ibom, Anambra State, Adamawa State, Cross River State, Bayelsa State. Others include Delta State, Kaduna State, Kebbi State, Katsina State, River State, Imo State, Sokoto State, Ondo State, and Lagos State. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline: FD predicts fresh flooding in Lagos, 13 others.
And away from that to the Daily Trust newspaper, where I have Adebayo says Tinubu is a well-known tax collector. Now to the detail of the story. Social Democratic Party SDP presidential candidate in the 2023 general election, Adewale Adebayo, has described President Bola Tinubu as a well-known tax collector. Adebayo stated this during an interview on Channel TV Politics Today. Adebayo said, and I quote, "Everybody knows that President Bola Tinubu is a well-known tax collector, but the tax collection is an improvement over a disorganized system. He met on ground. He did tax collection in Lagos and he came to do tax collection in Abuja. The problem is with Honorable Dogara's speech is that he is overstating it. This reform is not the best, but is far better than what we had." However, Adebayo said that Tinubu has made progressive in managing Nigerians' economy. He said, and I quote, "It is obvious that the economy that President Buhari left was a poorly managed economy and was an emergency room patient. Like any emergency room patient, the road to recovery will be a good diagnosis by the doctor. So if the doctor is able to know what is the reason why you are ill, he will be able to put you on a solid path to recovery." For more information on this story, check the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline: Adebayo Tinubu is a well-known tax collector.
Still on the Punch newspaper with this headline: Kebbi governor accuses Malami of economic sabotage, terrorism agenda. And now the details. Kebbi State Governor Nasir Idris has accused former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami SAN, of promoting what it described as a terrorism agenda disguised as politics, speaking while receiving a coalition of the civil society organization on a solidarity visit recently. Idris dismissed Malami's recent claims that the state government had imported mercenaries, describing them as false, dangerous, and capable of undermining peace, stability, and economic growth in Kebbi. Malami, a chieftain of the opposition African Democratic Congress, had in a petition to top security chiefs, including the National Security Advisor and the Chief of Defense Staff, alleged a looming threat to peace and stability, accusing Idris and his allies of clandestinely arming political actors loyal to the ruling APC to intimidate the opposition. The petition, dated September 10th, followed an attack on Malami's convoy, in which thugs vandalized vehicles in his motorcar, but Idris countered that Malami's suggest allegations were already scaring away foreign investors interested in setting up agro-allied processing, cement, and mining industries in Kebbi. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline, Kebbi Governor accuses Malami of economic sabotage, terrorism agenda.
And if you're just joining, you're listening to In the Papers, a newspaper program on iPower 102.7 FM. This is a program where we review preview news across the country and beyond. You can call us by sharing your perspective, your opinion about the stories headline read so far on 081 6552 4699. 081 6552 4699. Moving on with another story coming from the Punch newspaper. We have Army arrests notorious IPOB commander in Imo State. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of the story and more. Welcome back. We are still on to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM. Moving on with the story coming from the Punch newspaper, we have Army arrests notorious IPOB commander in Imo. Now to the detail. The Nigerian Army has announced the arrest of the notorious commander of the indigenous people of Biafra and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, identified as Ifeanyi Ese, popularly known as Gensu the Yahoo. Okoronto was captured in his hideout at Akwu-Ibe Igwe local government area of Imo State during a joint operation conducted by troops of the 34 Artillery Brigade in collaboration with other security agencies. A statement by the Nigerian Army said the raid led to the recovery of an English pistol, 120 rounds of 7.62 mm, special ammunition, 25 rounds of 7.62 mm NATO, a cartridge, 6 mobile phones, military and police uniforms, as well as a German flag. Troops also uncovered a workshop used to dismantle stolen vehicles for sale and destroyed 10 motorcycles found at the site. In a related operation, troops carried out coordinating mission in Adamawa, Katsina, and Kogi State, rescuing 12 kidnapped victims. 5 persons were freed in Madagali local government area of Adamawa, another 5 in Molamfushi local government area of Katsina, while 2 others were rescued in Lokoja, Kogi State. Separately, operatives of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Adin-K neutralized 8 fighters of the Islamic State of West African Province in Borno State. Several others with gunshot wounds were arrested. For more information, check the Punch newspaper with the headline, Army arrests notorious IPOB commander in Imo State.
Moving into the Nation newspaper with this headline, Sanu Nasu issues strike notice over unmet demands. And now the details. The Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education and Associated Institutions and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities has issued a 7-day strike notice to the federal government over outstanding demands. The union threatened to go on strike at the end of the ultimatum, which started on September 15th. The GAC gave the notice in a joint statement by its chairman, Mohammed Ibrahim, who doubled as SSANU president, and the Union General Secretary, Prince Peters Adeyemi in Abuja. The union alleged that the efforts to address the outstanding demands with the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, have not yielded any positive results. The union listed some of the issues as unjust disbursement of 50 billion earned allowances, non-payment of outstanding withheld salaries, and 25/35% salary increment, and renegotiation of the 2009 FGN, NASU, and SANU agreement. For more details on that story, see the Nation newspaper with the headline, SANU, NASU issue strike notice over unmet demands.
Away from that, moving straight away to the Daily Post newspaper, where I are drivers earn more than graduates, 4 times the minimum wage, says Dangote. Now to the story. President of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has said that their drivers earn 4 times the Nigerian national minimum wage. Dangote made this known on Tuesday in an interview on Arise Television. He added that their drivers earn better than graduates, stressing that joining the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, should be voluntary. He said, and I quote, "The truck we launch don't stop anyone from their work. We hear there will be lots of jobs. Will our tankers be driven by robots? Every truck is about 6 people, so these trucks they are fighting over will create 24,000 jobs. What we are saying is that our salaries is almost 3 or 4 times their own. After 5-year free accidents, a driver can apply and get a house loan." A quote further, "Our drivers earn more than graduates. If you look at what they earn in a month, it is almost 4 times the national minimum wage," he added. For more information on the story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, "Our drivers earn more than graduates, 4 times the minimum wage," says Dangote.
Still on the Nation newspaper, an ASC appoints Emmanuel Odor as acting clerk to the Senate. And now the details. The National Assembly Service Commission has approved the appointment of Emmanuel Odor as the acting clerk to the Senate. The Commission approved the appointment recently during the 6th Commission 10th meeting, according to statements. Emmanuel Anyigo, Deputy Director, Information and spokesperson of the NASC. It says, and I quote, "I write to inform you that the 6th Commission at the 10th meeting held recently, 16 September 2025, approved your appointment as acting clerk, Senate in the National Assembly, WEF, from 16/09/2025. This is in exercise of its powers as provided by Section 6B of the National Assembly Service Act 2014. He added that Odor's appointment was in recognition of his hard work and administrative competence, and urged him to work hard to uphold the confidence the Commission reposed on him. Prior to the appointment, Mr. Emmanuel Odor was Deputy Clerk, Senate Administration. For more details on that story, check the Nation newspaper with the headline, "NASC appoint Emmanuel Odor as acting clerk to the Senate."
Before joining you shortly on the Nation newspaper, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of these and more of the story.
Are you done? You're still, I have to.
What do you want, honey? Welcome back. You are still also in the papers, a newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM. Moving on with the story coming from the Nation newspaper. Before that, you can join us or connect with us and share your view, your opinion on the stories read so far on 081-6552-4699. 081-6552-4699. Moving on with the story coming from the Nation newspaper, we have Tinubu's revolutionary, says ex-speaker Dogara. Now to the story. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's economic reform program is a revolution the most far-reaching in many decades of Nigeria's nationhood, a former House of Representatives Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, said yesterday. According to him, the president inherited an economy in a comatose which needs such bold and courageous decision to pull it back from the brink. On assumption of office on May 29, 2023, the president removed subsidy on petrol and scrapped multiple exchange rates between economic policy that have defined his administration. Dogara said, and I quote, "This is a legacy that would impact generations after us and cement President Tinubu's place in Nigerians' history as the undisputed most consequential economic reformer of our time." He spoke during the media and distinguished parliamentarian lecture organized by the House of Representatives Press Corps at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja. For more information on this story, check the Nation newspaper with the headline, "Tinubu's reforms, revolutionary," says as Speaker Dogara.
Still on the Nation newspaper, talking PDP. PDP open ticket confirms Olawepo Ashim position on zoning. And now the details. The People's Democratic Party has formally aligned with the long-held position of technocrat and politician Dr. Gbenga Olawepo Ashim by declaring that its zoning arrangement will not prevent aspirants from other regions from contesting the presidential ticket in 2027. PDP National Legal Advisor Kamaldeen Ajibade spoke recently, stressing that while zoning remains an important tool for equity, it cannot override the Nigerian Constitution, which guarantees all citizens the right to seek elective offices. Reacting to PDP's pronouncement, the Southwest Coordinator of Movement, Alhaji Abbas Olani, described the development as a major victory for democracy and vindication of Dr. Ashim's ideological politics, adding that the party had chosen the path of fairness and inclusivity. For more details on that story, check the Nation newspaper with the headline, "PDP open ticket confirms Olawepo Ashim position on zoning."
And lastly, from my side, reading story coming from the Daily Post newspaper, where I have Abia to support federal government crusade against small arms and light weapons. Now to the detail of the story. Abia State Governor Alex Oti says the Abia State government will continue to work with the relevant federal government agency to reduce proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the country. Governor Oti gave the assurance while receiving a delegation of the new Southeast Zonal Director of the National Central for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, led by Captain Chris Anuzium, who visited him at his office. He said that almost all crimes were committed with small arms and light weapons and stressed the need to reduce it. He said, and I quote, "Virtually all the crimes you see around are committed with light weapons and small arms. If we don't eliminate them, or at least reduce them to the barest minimum, then we cannot have peace." Otis said that his administration was working together with the security agency to ensure that criminals fleeing from neighboring states didn't settle in Abia. He thanked the federal government for setting up the center, as well as thanked President Bola Tinubu for appointing his friend D.I.D. Johnson Babatunde Kukum as Director General of the center, expressed the hope that he would perform well. For more information, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, "Abia to support federal government's crusade against small arms, light weapons."
I take a flight back to the Punch newspaper with this headline, "Gunmen on motorbikes kill 22 at baptism ceremony in Niger." And now the details. Gunmen on motorbikes shot dead 22 villagers in western Niger, most attending a baptism ceremony. Local media and other sources have recently confirmed the shooting happened recently in the Tilbera region near Burkina Faso and Mali, where jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State groups are active. A resident in the area told newsmen that 15 people were killed first at the baptism ceremony in Takubat village. It said, and I quote, the attackers went to the outskirts of Takubat where they killed 7 other people, said the resident. Local media outlets reported a gruesome death toll of 22 innocent people cowardly killed without reason or justification. Once again, the Tilbera region has been struck by barbarism, plunging innocent families into mourning and despair. For more details on that story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline, Gunmen on motorbikes kill 22 at baptism ceremony in Niger.
And with that, we've come to the end of today's edition of In the Papers. We'll recap the stories read so far to your ear. Firstly, we read stories from the Punch newspaper. We said the federal government unveiled agri reform, moves to create 21 million jobs.
And I read 2 stories from the Punch newspaper, which says Ayedatiwa has constituted Tescom board and appointed CITA chairman.
Still on the Punch newspaper, we brought to you that 4 hospitalized as fire got to Lagos buildings.
On the old newspaper, we told you that parents have lamented soaring cost of books and tuition fee amidst schools resumption.
We also inform you on the Punch newspaper that the federal government demands respect for Nigerian's flag and anthem.
We informed you on the Hope newspaper that the MBTE has vowed to crack down on fake polytechnics.
We equally told you that the Nigerian Army arrests notorious IPOC commander in Imo State from the Punch newspaper as well.
We told you on the Hope newspaper that Sunview Hotels react as a police promised discreet investigation.
And we flashily moved to the Daily Post newspaper, where we brought to you that defection biggest problem in Nigerian, says Aishat Yesufu.
We moved to the Punch newspaper, where we informed you that the DSS has sued Shore ex-Meta over anti-Tinubu post.
We also brought story coming from the Dangote Group from the Daily Post newspaper, where we have this headline: our drivers earn more than graduates 4 times minimum wage, says Dangote.
We told you on the Punch newspaper that Tinubu has returned to Abuja after cutting short his Paris leave.
We equally moved to the Hope newspaper, where we brought to you that Tinubu's NIM linkage reduces fraud, boost Nigerians' national security.
We told you on the Punch newspaper that federal government has predicted fresh flooding in Lagos, 13 others.
Then we move close to the Nation newspaper, where we brought to you that Tinubu's revolutionary, says SP Kadogara.
We told you on the Punch newspaper that Kebbi governor has accused Malami of economic sabotage, terrorism agenda.
And on the Daily Trust newspaper, Adebayo says Tinubu is a well-known tax collector.
On the Nation newspaper, we informed you that SANU NASU has issued strike notice over unmet demands.
And on the Daily Post newspaper, we brought to you that the Abia to support federal government crusade against small arms and light weapons.
We told you that the NASC has appointed Emmanuel Odor as acting clerk to the Senate.
And lastly, from the Daily Post newspaper, we brought to you that our Inspector General Police Office locked me 3 days for publishing court injunction, says journalist.
And that brings us to the end of today's edition in the papers. We have taken you through major headlines from newspapers within and outside Nigeria, and we hope this review has kept you informed on the key issues shaping conversations today. Do stay tuned for more updates and programs coming your way shortly. On behalf of myself, INIOLUWA Adekoya, and my colleague
ABDULRASAQ,
many thanks to you for joining us. Until next time, have a productive and pleasant day.
Good morning.